Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of So Tell Us Time. We're super excited to be here, or I should say, I'm super excited to be here with you today. Troy is actually prepping for an event that we're going to be at. We're going to be at an event here in just a couple of days. We're going to be speaking at that event, and it's entrepreneurs just like yourselves. We love traveling. We love getting in front of all of these entrepreneurs all over the country and the world and sharing our knowledge, sharing what we're talking about, honestly, a lot of times in the podcast as well. So, in this one, we're going to be talking about your website and how it can be your superhero, which we've talked about recently. And we're talking about automation, we're talking about reputation. So, we go through all these different things at these different events that we're doing. So Troy is, you'll have to excuse him, he is off and prepping for that because we are going to be leaving here shortly, but we wanted to make sure that we stayed with you guys and got another episode done for you because we just love absolutely doing this for you guys. So today we're talking about business burnout. And this is a really big one. But before we get into that, let's have a little word from our show sponsors, us. Coming in hot from Arizona, this is Trevor
and Troy Howard.
And you're on So Tell Us Time. You can have everything you want in your business. Sometimes you just need a little help.
Every business owner would love to charge more for their services, but sometimes you can sacrifice long-term loyalty for a short-term profit.
Creating the right rituals is key to your business having success.
Are you tired of competing with your competitors? Guess what? You don't have to compete if you create.
All right, let's dive in. So business burnout, we're talking about how it affects not just owners, but employees too. And it's a big deal because a lot of people are feeling it right now. A lot of employees are feeling it right now. So we're going to hit three main topics today when it comes to business burnout. So owning a business, running a business, not only do you have to do a health check of yourself as the business owner, but you have to do a health check of your employees. And are they happy? And are they being successful in their current positions? Are they maximizing their time, energy, and efforts? Are you being able to be profitable with these employees? So the first thing we're going to talk about is the perpetual workaholic. So this person is working long hours, they're skipping breaks, they're taking work home with them, and like they often can't get away from their desk. Even they can't let it go. They can't go to that maybe kids soccer game or baseball game or football. They can't go to that dance performance and let their mind just relax and enjoy the moment that they're in. They are too focused on work and what's happening with work and the stresses of that they just don't find themselves enjoying their time off, their time that's away from work or supposed to be away from work. And that's just not a good thing. So one of the things that you can do to overcome this is really look at that work-life boundaries. So you hear a lot of work-life balance, and we will talk about that or reference that later in the podcast, but work-life boundaries. Some of the things that you can do is include having like start times and stop times. And I get it. Most people, when it comes to like employees, they do. The nice thing for employees is a lot of times they do get to check out at the end of the day. They don't worry about work until the next day when they start, but they also get to check out at the end of the day. However, it still can affect employees. So setting up those boundaries of like, this is when you start, this is when you stop, putting breaks into your day, whether you're the owner or the employee, putting in breaks where you just get up from the desk, you go for a walk outside. Maybe you take a phone call, call a loved one, call a family member or a friend, and just have a minute or two of just taking that mental break, resting, relaxing, getting some vitamin D, absorbing that sun, right? Having the cool wind blow on your face, or if you're in Arizona, having the shade, finding some shade under a tree because it's hot here most times of the year. But those are really important things that you can do. You could make sure that when you check out for the day, you check out for the day. When you go to that dance performance or you go to that football game or whatever it is, a lot of times what I do, I walk up and I will touch something and I say, I'm leaving work here. So if I go home first, if I can get home first, I walk up to the garage door and as I'm walking in, I touch the garage door and I say, I'm leaving work here. My mind is shut off from work. My focus is now my family, and I will pick work back up right here tomorrow. And that's what I do. And it's a physical thing that I'm telling you, when you actually do physical things like touching the wall and leaving it there, and then the next day get up and walk out the door, touch the wall and say, now I'm picking work back up and I'm heading to work. And you got your mind going again. That really does work. I mean, it's really looking at how you envision your work. It's being intentional with your time and with your work time. So personal time and work time. So not only do you need to take those breaks during the day, make sure you're doing that, make sure that you're taking a mental break, make sure you're taking your lunches, things like that. Watch a little show, get your mind to rest and relax, especially the owners. I can tell you, sometimes it's the only way to get my mind off of something is by just watching a show. Or especially, like, I love comedies because I love to laugh, and it really just gets me out of my work mentality, but also being present and intentional when you are not at work. So leave it at work. Maybe even as you're walking out the door at the office, you touch it and say, I'm leaving work here today, and I will pick it back up when I walk back in this door. And it really does make a difference. Visualizing. That's why they say, putting down, having a vision board really does work, having goals. So being physical and intentional about that, it's really important. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is being resource depleted. And this is going to be a scenario where you may not have the tools you need. You may not have the programs you need, the systems you need in place. And so it makes things harder. You're doing things old school. You're still using spreadsheets and printing out papers. And I love it when I walk into like a dental office or any kind of, honestly, service business. And I'm like, hey, show me the leads that you guys have generated over the last 2 weeks. And they pull out a folder and they literally have leads printed on a piece of paper, or they even pull up a spreadsheet. Okay, now they've taken one step further than a printed out piece of paper, but they're still running on a spreadsheet and updating things manually. Which means that usually right off the bat, I know all their communication is going to be manual as well. So really looking at the business and deciding, what are you missing and what do you need? Because I can tell you, having the right tools. I would not say that I'm like a mechanic of any sorts. I wouldn't say I'm like great in building things with my hands. However, I do believe now that with YouTube, of course, thanks YouTube, but with YouTube and having the right tools, and this is the key part, having the right tools, it has helped me. I mean, my daughter got in a car accident and I was able to rebuild the whole front end with YouTube and having the right tools. And I am not a mechanic in any way. I have been able to do projects around the house just with getting the right tools. So it's the same thing in your business. You need to have the right tools. My podcast goes better when I invest in my podcast and I have the right tools. In my business with the automation, everything, and the systems that I have in place, everything works together smoothly when I have given myself the right resources. So being resource depleted really will wear and tear on you. It'll wear and tear on your employees. It's very frustrating. So look at your business. What do you guys need? Make that investment, right? That will help you overcome that challenge in your business and avoid the burnout. Now, the third and final thing we're going to be talking about today is passion fading. And this happens, and it doesn't just happen to the owners, it happens with employees. And we've got a great story about that. We had an employee years ago that we brought her on. She was in charge of marketing and bringing on additional clients in various avenues. We put her in a box. We stuck her in this box of like, this is how we do what we do. And we didn't ask her how she would do it. We didn't ask her if she enjoyed doing what we were having her do. And she got burnt out and she was unsuccessful. So what's crazy about this is she decided she wanted to leave, parted on good terms. And within a week, just communicating with her, she had brought on, I think, $10,000 in new clients for herself $120,000 a year. That was $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year that she'd brought on for herself because she went out and she got clients the way that she would do it instead of being put in the box that we had put her in. That $120,000 a year could have been ours. And instead we spent over $100,000 a year just paying her to be unsuccessful for us. And that was our fault. She didn't enjoy it. And so keeping a thumb on the pulse of the company and the employees, we have had employees want to grow, want to change positions within the company. We love to promote within. We are constantly asking the employees, hey, how are things going? We have weekly company meetings. And so how are things going? Do you need anything? Going back to the resources, are there any resources you don't have that you need? So making sure that the employees are happy with what they're doing and the resources they have and how they're doing things has really helped our company grow because we get to maximize the employees and what they can do. So when they're happy, they do a better job. They work harder. Also, the whole passion thing with an owner. We know how burnt out we can get. It gets exhausting because we're going 24/7. I mean, and listen, this is not just in the beginning burnout, right? Honestly, a lot of times in the beginning, entrepreneurs, they experience burnout because it's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy and effort. You're away from your family. You're away from having fun. You're not having fun. You're not scheduling in fun for yourself, right? You're putting every dollar back in. You're killing yourself essentially to really build this business. And so what is hard with that is the fact that you aren't allowing yourself to take the break. You are now sucking the passion that you had in the beginning out of yourself, and the business is going to suffer for that. I mean, I know for a fact I spent years. I mean, my goal, I was motivated. I was like, oh, it's about money, right? I want to make so much money. I want to be a millionaire by this age. And I can tell you, I was working 2 jobs. I was working a job to pay the bills at home while I was building this company. And I was sleeping at the office. I was not going home. We had multiple children. My wife finally called me up one day and said, listen, you're not sending money home. That's a problem. And you're not coming home. That's a problem. So I'm going to give you a choice. Either send money home or you come home. Because otherwise, if one of those 2 things doesn't happen, and she, of course, wanted to be home and money, but she was like, come on, you got to give somewhere. I'm a single parent and I have no money. Something's got to give. Or the next time you come home, I may not be here. So I made sure that I did both. I figured out a way to make sure I was sending money home and getting home. So making sure that you're setting aside time for the most important things, because why you started a business in the first place was you wanted to be able to control your income. Probably you wanted to be able to make more money. Being stuck working for somebody else wasn't your mentality. Which is not everybody's mentality. It is very hard to be an entrepreneur. And that's why most businesses fail in the first 3 to 5 years. People think, oh, I'm good at this. I'll just go and do it. Well, there's a lot more that goes into it. And you know this, I know this. We've been doing this for 26 years and multiple businesses. It is a lot of work, time, energy, and effort, sweat, tears, prayers, right? Hitting our knees, being like, come on, something's got to give. So making sure that you really realign like your core of why did you start the business in the first place, and making sure you set aside that time in order to have those moments in life to enjoy it so that you don't get the burnout. Because it will come hard, it will come fast, and it will hit you in the face like a ton of bricks, which is super annoying, not fun at all. And so we want to avoid that, guys. All right, so that's it. Let's go over the homework for today. You guys want to look at your current work-life balance and decide, what are you failing at? Really look at what you're failing at, not what are you succeeding at. Where are you failing in your work-life balance? And then realign your schedule to better that. Also, you need to be looking at your employees, communicating with them, finding out what do they need? Are they happy? Are they doing little fun things to give perks and make everybody feel good and get a break? So this way, you don't lose money putting one of your employees in a box where they're not successful, they're not happy, and they're not doing a good job for you. All right. That's it for this week's episode of So Tell Us Time. We love you guys so much, and we will check you out on the next episode.